And today I have the privilege of being with the fine gentleman, a very dedicated human being. His name is Roger Kotila. He has a PhD in psychology. Roger, how do you do?
Doing good.
Tell me, what's the purpose? First of all, I would like to know, what do you really do in life? I know you're a psychologist, but do you practice psychology, or what are you involved with?
Yes, I'm a psychologist. I am a retired psychologist, at least from paid psychology. And these days I'm the president of a World Federalist organization based out of San Francisco, Democratic World Federalists. We're a think tank and a educational organization. I also, as part of that, edit their news website, and I have my own website with Earth Federation News and Views. I specialize in the Earth Federation movement and in the Earth Constitution. So I'm full-time as president of Democratic World Federalists out of San Francisco, teaching the principles of world federalism. And
maybe let's just go with that one. So what do you do exactly as the president of that organization?
Well, we look for things going on in the world and try to show the public and the politicians how, if we had a world federation in place, these problems could be handled, solutions. So the problem is that the United Nations just can't handle some of the key problems. My own personal interest in why I became a World Federalist is because I couldn't figure out how we were going to get rid of the weapons of mass destruction. There's something about all these nuclear weapons that really scares me. I think, well, what if by accident or design these things go off? So that plus war, I couldn't see any way to get rid of these things, war, nuclear weapons, unless we established a democratic federal world union. That's the conclusion Einstein came to, and a lot of very smart people, that we had to have a federal union. As a psychologist, when I worked for 20 years in the California prison system at the California Medical Facility. I worked with the gang members and others. But the world geopolitics, in my opinion, is very similar to what we saw with gangs, prison gangs and street gangs, which is we would disarm them, do the sweeps, get rid of all the weapons they'd hidden, and within 3 weeks, the gangs would arm themselves again. Why? They're getting paranoid because they're thinking, well, what if the other guy's got weapons? So we got to have weapons. Make a long story short, if you look at the world global political system, it's the same thing. The United States is paranoid about Russia. Russia's paranoid about the United States. China's paranoid. Everybody's paranoid, so they keep the weapons. There's no way to deal with this unless we become a federal world union.
How would you see it? How do we incorporate such a union?
Well, I think the Earth Constitution is I think it's a gift to the world, really, is sitting there. It outlines a process by which the nations can join the Federation and disarm, and in a safe way. So, but the ideas about what the world, about the value system has to change some. We have to switch from the idea of competition and the idea that we've got to fight for everything we get. That's the old, kind of the old business model, that you're in competition with the other guy and you've got to have more weapons than the other guy. We have to switch to we're a global family and that everybody counts, and instead of fighting over the world's resources, over oil, over water, who gets them and all of this, we're going to have to figure out ways to share. The Earth Constitution provides, I think, a brilliant way to get this to happen. It essentially requires replacing the United Nations Charter.
Why would you want to replace the United Nations Charter?
Well, we can see from the evidence since the UN started, and by the way, the World Federalists predicted from the very beginning when the Charter was written that it would not end wars, that it really wouldn't work. And the reason they said that is because the nations kept the right of unlimited sovereignty. Each nation said, well, when it comes right down to it, we will do whatever we want. And the problem with that is we ended up with bully nations. some nations with more power than others. So there was no equality. And as a result, what we're seeing now politically on the world stage is that the powerful nations are bullying everybody else. So it's just one war after another, and the UN is helpless to stop it. So not only can't the UN stop the wars because of the Charter gives them this sovereignty, they can't end poverty, because to end worldwide poverty, we're going to have to eliminate the war machines, the military, because it's either we're going to spend money on bombs or we're going to spend money on food and clothing, shelter, and education for our children. Mm-hmm. Right now, the budgets, as you know, go mostly to the military-industrial complex. So the Charter, unfortunately, the United Nations Charter actually has put us in a global war system. And what we're saying with this Earth Constitution is that Constitution will give us a global peace system. Basic idea is pretty simple. When two countries have a conflict, instead of going to war, which is what happens now, or threatening each other, which is what happens now, the countries will have it resolved either by going to a world court or by going to the World Parliament, and the World Parliament will resolve it. Nonviolent solutions. Now, what that's going to mean is the nations are going to have to share. We can't have this business where the United States, as just one example says, well, we get all the oil. Our companies should get most of the oil. Or Israel says, we get all the water and Palestine can't have any. We can't have that, because that just leads to more fighting.
Okay, but in the meantime, how do you intend to incorporate?
Well, in terms of my role out of San Francisco, what I'm emphasizing, the people I work with, is we're looking at ways to popularize these ideas, because the public's not even aware that there might be a solution to the problem of war or to the problems of poverty. I would say that the majority of the public believe that we're always going to have wars and that we're always going to have poverty. So step one is to educate the public that there actually might be some practical answers to these dilemmas. So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to reach the public and the politicians.
Any priorities in your structure for the environment and children, or children and the environment?
Well, the environmentalists like the idea that the Earth Constitution is the first green constitution ever drafted. Unlike the United Nations Charter, by the way, the Earth Constitution actually has ecological principles built into it. The people who drafted, these world citizens that drafted that Earth Constitution, recognized 30 years ago that we needed to preserve the planet, Mother Earth. So the environmentalists are attracted to that part of the Earth Constitution. Mm-hmm. Now, what was the other thing you asked me about? Children?
Yeah, the children.
The Earth Constitution says that children have a right to a free education. They have a right to food, clothing, shelter as a basic right. It's not a privilege. They have a right to medical care. It's not a privilege. It's an inalienable right. And one of the important things about the Earth Constitution is, for the first time, it will give a citizen a means to insist upon certain basic rights that now, if you live in the wrong country, you're cooked. You're not. If that country doesn't want to help you, if it's been taken over by gangsters or taken over by greedy, corrupt politicians, that money that should go to helping families, helping children, making good schools and good communities, goes to other things to line somebody's pocket. Not only can the Earth Federation put an end to that, we can, for the first time, individual leaders of nations will no longer be above the law. Right now, if you're the leader of a powerful nation and you do a war crime or a world crime, you don't go to jail. Or if you're a banker and you steal millions of dollars from people, you don't go to jail. You pay a fine, and that's it. But under the Earth Federation, no individual will be above the law.
Anything you would like to add, Roger?
Well, I appreciate people outside the United States like yourself and your partner here coming in and taking a look at what we're doing and joining our cause. I think it's the global family world citizenship idea is really important, and like your emphasis on children, I think, is really, really special because it's an index of our value system, really our spiritual moral value system, how we treat our children. I mean, if we can't even give them an education and they don't have a right to medical care, or they're homeless on the streets, that says something about the government and the society, I think. And I think it's a wonderful index. So that's about it for now.
Well, thanks a lot, Roger.
Well, thank you.
Keep up the good work and wishing you nothing but the best. Good luck.
Thanks.
Have a great one.